If you want to chime in what's happening to your favorite KFAN shows, you can make your voice heard on the Brad Sean Bryant KFAN text line. Just let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That is 64686. Standard text message and data rate supply.
Ben Goessling's appearance 9 to noon is courtesy of Standard Heating and Air. Standard Heating and Air. Thank you. It's 10:10. It's 10:10. Here's Ben Goessling for his 10:03-ish to 10:40-ish 2-segment stint. Just let it out. What happened?
Well, the shorter segment today is brought to you by MnDOT, and sorry, I almost made you do a spit take. And the endless summer of construction where we decided to take every major artery in this city and work on them all at the same time.
And what you hear now is me ripping up my previous Ben Goessling questions because this Therapeutic Davenport love session coming up right now might be second to none. Keep going.
I understand it. We have a limited construction season.
Where'd you get stuck?
I got stuck. Okay, so I typically take 62 across the Mendota Bridge, which turns 55. That was completely jammed. I thought, okay, 494 may be the better option. The reason that 62 was completely jammed was because 494 was closed. So
Let me
what
get
I
a
should have done is just said, okay, fine, we'll just wait it out.
Let me get a FEMA out here. Fairness and MnDOT Act.
Yeah.
Everybody working on these roads, listening right now.
Yep.
This is in no way casting aspersions, affronts, or like getting after you. You're
100%.
You're doing your job.
Yep.
Okay, so you are doing your jobs in hopefully second to none fashion. So when FEMA is unfurled, Fairness and MnDOT Act, I believe the scribe certainly is not going after the players in the game.
Correct.
It may be the organizers of the league.
Yeah, yes. It's
those that draw up the scheme and the game plan.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yep.
Because, I get it. We have a limited construction season because we have only a few months to work on things before it snows, and then we have potholes to fix and all of those things. And it's the old joke about only 2 seasons in Minnesota, winter and potholes or winter construction. But this one, I mean, I suppose all the 494 stuff, which actually I drove through that the other day. All of the overpasses they're doing, those will be great when it's done, but just
when they're done.
Yeah, it's just labor pains right now.
Yeah, I understand.
It's tough too where you're on 62 to the 55 on the east side there, and you actually thought to yourself, maybe 494 will be better.
Yes.
Because I am curious what evidence might be where 494 might be better
Thank you.
than any other roadway.
I have lived in Minnesota for, I've had a license for 26 years. I've lived in Minnesota for 22 of those. And after all of those years driving in this state, the fact that I actually thought 494 could be a better option is either an indictment of my critical thinking or an indictment of how bad it is out there right now. You can take your pick on those, but it defies logic that I would have come to that conclusion.
Well, but for every play that is executed at the line of scrimmage, unless you're Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, whomever calls games, the full thing at the line, all right? Well, so a play comes in and there are tentacles off said play. So the tentacle here would have been the play's not working.
Yep.
One of the options in quick twitch fashion, because the play clock's running down, is I'm going to go to 494.
Yeah.
So you can't believe that you took that option. Now, for me, when I'm going 13 east.
Yeah.
Okay. And you get to this insipid, awful disease zipper merge, which takes place because you can't head south on 35.
Yep.
And 35 north is it exits to 13. 13 is 13. There's a lane closed. It's a zipper merge. And
this is like in Burnsville.
Yes, right at 35 and 13 in Burnsville. And, the state of the moods of humanity are questioned each and every time that I take that route. So 2 times. I did this twice. So I was stupid twice. Because like a month and a half, 2 months into it, I'm like, you know what? Maybe nobody's thought to head up to 42.
Yeah.
And do that.
That's another road which I've driven a lot of my life. If 42? You're saying this is
it
better.
Was so, and all the roads were open, it was so backed up.
Yeah. 42, and that's, I grew up pretty much off 42 in Burnsville. And
whoever patented stoplight technology is the person that designed
that
42.
Road. Yes, they made a lot of money off of that. I avoid, anytime I'm down in Apple Valley, I make a point of driving 42 as little as possible. So that's another one where if you're like, this may actually be a better option.
Yep.
It's a dire situation.
But you are quite composed because Nordo and I have both been in that spot before, him with a Chaska and 212.
Yeah.
And holding the composure is key. But secondly, now that I think about it, before you got here, when I was reading your text and I'm like, well, let's take this segment 5 minutes longer. The scribe's going to be here at 10:10. Nordo said something about Ben should just pull his car over now. And I'm like, okay, cool, throwaway line. But then I thought about when we did that show at the Doubletree by KFAN and how you ran 3/4 of a mile. Okay, now this is a track raised individual who coaches long distance running at Apple Valley High School.
And Augsburg University these days.
Somehow there was a mix-up in communication where he thought he was joining a Friday show
at the studio,
the high school coaches bit at the studio, which is about 3/4 of a mile, maybe between a half and 3/4 from where we were doing the show. Well, he ran every step of the way to the lobby of the radio show and was not breathing hard when he got there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get tired walking downstairs. So
now, did you do the thing in like your polo and like some khaki shorts where you had to wait for the crosswalk there at Xenia? Or Park maybe.
I gave it a little break. And
his gait was praised by somebody I ran into later, praising him for his gait and style of running. But perhaps pulling off on the side of the road at 9:45 and running to Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center would have been more prudent.
That's maybe for next time, because I'm sure there will be a next time with the traffic being what it is. That's
it ain't going to be next week because if you are so inclined, you will be at the 651 Carpets Plus Studios with Nordo.
Yes,
I will be in a library at a manor. Just outside of the bustling part of London.
Yes.
Then the one after that is the bye week.
Yep.
And then after that, we react to, we prepare for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Correct.
So a little respite on the horizon for us/Ben Goessling, at Ben Goessling via Twitter. Access Vikings, that podcast, that video podcast. You can access that via the Star Tribune's YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and, find the Star Tribune's channel. Hit videos, very easy to find, or search Access Vikings, because Andrew, Ben, and Emily do really good work with that. So now, off the running bench, in the truncated amount of time you are in Ireland, and you like running.
Yes.
And they have hills. You're going to run the hills of Ireland when you're over there?
We'll see what we can find. Yeah, I got to see how many of those are in Dublin or how many of that I could get to. But yeah, I'm the running gear is packed. Let's put it that way. A lot of that stuff is in the luggage for the week. So yeah, we're planning for that.
Do you know anything about Croke? Do you know anything about Croke Stadium, Croke Park, Croke whatever it's called?
Yeah, Croke Park is the name of the place where we will be on Sunday. It is the.
Thank you.
So I said rugby once, and people corrected me on this. It's Gaelic football, which is like rugby, but not quite. The rules are a little bit different. The Gaelic.
So rugby's Australian?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's Australian rules football.
Well, I think both exist there. There's Aussie rules football and there's rugby. I mean, rugby gets played around the world in lots of different places, and I think they have it. I mean, the Brits have it too. So
rugby originated at rugby school in England in the 19th century.
Okay. So other places that the British crown has touched, which is a lot of the world over the course of that time, I think play quite a bit of rugby. New Zealand, obviously, very famous for it as well. But, yeah, Gaelic football is something a little bit different than that, but that's the main thing that gets played at Croke Park. And grass field, I believe. So they're one game on grass here for a while, I think, because Tottenham is turf now. And, so it'll be... I would think a pretty good setup for it. I mean, the question with these things I've heard players talk about over the years is always, I think the first time we were at Tottenham, players pointed out how much better it was, because what you typically run into in the locker rooms is they were not designed to hold the likes of Christian Darrisaw. They were not designed for 300 and some pound athletes that are 6'7" and have massive wingspans to get changed in a locker room where they're putting on lots of pads. So the thing that people have liked about Tottenham Stadium is they did build an NFL-specific locker room in it. This, I would not think, would have that. So, some of those accommodations that players are used to having here, I mean, even on the road, where, we've all been in those locker rooms on the road, they get crammed, but they're at least built for football players. So that is one thing that as you go into these settings, it's always like, okay, what's the field going to be like? What is the locker room going to be like? What's the practice setup going to be? There's all of these logistics that Paul Martin and company are having to figure out that I think is kind of a fascinating process with this, because you're taking this whole enterprise. There's brand building that the Vikings can do as an organization, but you're still trying to win a football game in the process of taking the whole operation overseas for 2 weeks and trying to make it all work. I mean, they've won every time they've done it, but it takes efforts from a lot more people than you realize, and it's always just fascinating to hear what those people have to do in these kinds of weeks.
Now, with Kevin O'Connell press conferences that I attend, I never ask questions. I mean, it's very fortunate to have the head coach every Tuesday from like 11 to 11:30. Yeah. So that's kind of let the scribes and everybody do their work.
Yep.
So the reason I bring that up is with Kevin O'Connell press conferences, and Ben Goessling is an elite press conference mind. And if you listen to KO Mondays or maybe Fridays on KFAN, you'll always hear Ben ask questions / good questions. So with that said, and you have a job to do, when it comes to these press conferences with the head coach or ancillary coaches in England or now in Ireland.
Yeah.
Do you ever just like sitting back, listening to the questions that come from like the Dublin media, the Glasgow media, the London media, and so on? Because I find them fascinating.
Yeah, it is a totally different setting. If you watch Kevin O'Connell's press conference on Friday, there'll be questions.
Can't wait.
That are unlike anything he gets the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. It is always like, as the beat writer, you've got to do I've got to ask all right, this guy's questionable. Yeah. How likely is he? You think he's like the beat writer maintenance questions?
School questionable. So if you do the Darrisaw thing again, is it school or Brandel?
Right,
stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Just kind of the typical turning of the screw beat questions. And then it'll be like, how do you feel about Ireland? What's the difference between American football and rugby? It'll be all these kinds of questions. I think that's changed over the years. I've noticed as these games have become more frequent over there, it's a little more of kind of almost, they cover it almost like it's entertainment. Like you hear, somebody get asked questions on a red carpet or something. It's more of that type of line of questioning than typical, kind of wonky football stuff. So it's entertaining. I mean, it's sometimes like, can I get in my questions just to do my job? But yeah, it's always fascinating.
And they're always in these little garden side rooms.
Yep.
Where you got a lot of things going on the side. They're setting up meals. Yep. They're organizing the hotel.
There's always a fountain out nearby somewhere.
They're beautiful. But you still got a job to do.
Right. You still have a job to do, and you're trying to just kind of work like it's a normal Friday, but it's not, because everybody's tired, everybody's jet lagged, everybody just landed, and then in Kevin O'Connell's case, you have to get up there and kind of be this ambassador for American football abroad, which he does well. Yeah. But, it's a different type of press conference that he will see just about any other time of the year. And I think, you have those in London, but the fact that they've been in London as much as they have, I think the fact that it's the first time in Dublin will be probably another different layer of that.
I think Kevin will have fun with that. Yeah. I'm curious, though, what do you think his mindset is in terms of, in some ways, protecting the players from some of the frivolity and the hubbub that'll take place? Because this is, in some ways, unprecedented that we are going to see a team play 2 consecutive games over there. There's travel, of course, and they're in 2 different spots. But in some ways, the reminder that it's about business, there has to be some sort of emphasis from the coaches to the players, and maybe protect them and isolate them to make it as normal as possible.
Yeah, I think the level that players will get questions like that before the game, they'll typically bring a few players out to talk. It's not, there won't be open locker room generally at these things on a Friday before the game, and you'll have 5 or 6 different players come out and and do kind of scrums over the course of probably a half hour, 45 minutes, similar to what we would have time frame wise here, but not quite as open as you'd get here. And I think that is, I think the press overseas is used to that, because I don't think most sports overseas have open locker rooms like we have in the U.S. It's typically kind of the mixed zone format for media access. So I don't think anybody's terribly surprised by that over there. But yeah, it is. I think you'll have a few different players talk, and they'll kind of pick who is going to come out and do that. So it's a little more structured than you'd typically see here. And the other thing is the NFL is involved in a lot of the logistics of all of these games. This is more of an NFL production than it is a Steelers production or the Vikings or whoever's hosting the game. The NFL is pretty directly involved in how all of these things go off. So they have some say in that too.
I'm sure we'll get more, and specifically not just the head coach's comments, but really from a team and an X's and O standpoint heading to Ireland, and I think everyone's bouncing out later this week.
Yeah,
but from the press conference yesterday, getting specifically to the head coach, I have to admit I was kind of shocked with the way this season has gone. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but just kind of, oh yeah, by the way, Donovan Jackson had surgery on his wrist. By the way, I think he did play like an entire game with said ailment. Just the hits keep coming, it feels like, and I assume maybe you were kind of surprised by that it's a little bigger than a nugget that he dropped during that presser yesterday.
This is the second week in a row that the head coach has buried the lead on injuries, where last week was, JJ came in with his ankle kind of sore, so he's going to have to miss this week, and we're going to start Carson. I mean, that was like the fourth one he brought up. And he's had to do a lot of injury updates early on, which not every coach does, so we appreciate the fact that he does that. But yes, the
like
last couple of
Hargrave
weeks
with a chest, and then Donovan Jackson had surgery today, so he's going to miss a few games.
Was it Matlock? I'm too old. I'm too young for Matlock, but was he always like and one more thing? I think that was always like.
Was it him or Perry Mason?
Why do you guys keep looking at me? Because I'm the oldest one in the room, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was Carl Malden, God rest his soul, with the streets of San Francisco.
Now, in fairness, he was always watching Soul Train and Midnight Special, so I don't think he was watching maybe a stray Columbo episode here or there.
I'm just trying to think of which one of these. I'm sure these were like on at my grandparents' house, and I saw some of them. But anyway, whoever it was who did and one more thing, and then they kind of bring in the smoking in to convict. O'Connell, when he said and one more thing, like, oh boy, here we go. So Donovan Jackson, this will be the third O-line combination in 4 weeks on Sunday.
And will that, or how much, 3-2, will it / how much will it impact the running game for the Vikings between the tackles? And have they officially busted out of that 2-game malaise? We'll get into that and more with Ben Goessling when we return to KFAN.
Join KFAN's Justin Guardsy Sunday morning at Gray's Food Hall for Kegs and Eggs. Drop by starting at 8:30 a.m. to catch the Purple as they play their first game in Ireland against Pittsburgh. Enjoy great food and your shot to win awesome prizes. Full details now, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Oh, good.
Personal foul. Clipping.
Ooh. 9 to noon, back at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. Ben Goessling's appearance is courtesy of Standard Heating and Air.
Yeah, indeed. And just before we get back to the chat with Ben Goessling, and you heard prior to the break, PA teasing kind of how this O-line combo, how that affects the run game moving forward. I do want to know Kevin O'Connell is going to be joining us at 11 a.m. in studio here, X's and O's with head coach Kevin O'Connell, a weekly affair at TCO. And we always play a talk back for the coach. So free iHeartRadio app. And you hit the microphone, give us up to your best 30 seconds. I'd like you to use your name and where you're from and ask a question to the coach. And one of you, I will choose them and play them for the coach during the 11 a.m. hour. So Ben Goessling, Star Tribune, StarTribune.com with us.
If I threw in like a Ben from Apple Valley talk back in there, do you think he'd fall for it? He'd be like, this guy talks to me all the time. He doesn't need another one.
Always do it.
We tried it.
Says yes.
We tried it with Alec, but it was so obvious because Alec sounds like he's apologizing while he asks the coach questions from time to time. Like he's so nice, he feels like he's interrupting festivities when he discusses things with the media. To the end of last segment, and specifically, you mentioned 3 out of 4 weeks. This is offensive line combo situation, and now Donovan Jackson missing at least the next couple of weeks with this wrist surgery procedure that took place. Excited to get him back at some point. But we saw with the O-line combo how it affected things with the QB.
Yeah.
And getting Christian Darrisaw back, I think everyone would acknowledge that offered maybe some calm and some help to Carson Wentz as he made his debut. But specifically with the run game and Jordan Mason and what we saw, the commitment to it in some respects because of a lopsided scoreline, but certainly just from the jump, the Vikings were stronger. They were out-muscling and out-classing in the trenches.
Yeah.
And Jordan Mason had a day.
Yeah, he did. He actually, I think, had the most productive day by a running back under Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, at least in the sense of he's the first running back they've had to run for 100 yards and score 2 touchdowns in the same game. I think he's like only the third or fourth to even have 2 touchdowns. So the fact that he was as productive as he was early, I think, made a big difference. It helped on that first drive, helped them kind of just get settled down. They talked a lot about wanting to start fast, and the run game was a big part of the reason they did that. I think the offensive line, some of the combo blocks they had, that helped clear things open for Jordan Mason running downhill. I think Donovan Jackson was a big part of that. So now you go back to Blake Brandel, presumably at left guard. Essentially, the left guard you had last year. So in the run game, I think he's probably always been a little better than he has in pass blocking because he's big and he can, when he's going downhill, can leave an impression on people quite literally. But yeah, it'll be that question of in pass protection how he fares, and I think it's part of the reason they made the changes that they did. But he's the starter at least for the next couple of weeks, and I think continuing to run the ball the way they did, continuing to commit to it the way they did, you'll see them continue to do some of those things because it made a difference. I think it made it easier for Carson Wentz. It put him in better down and distance situations. They talked about the quick release. That's a lot easier when you're trying to pick up 2 yards on a third down than when you're trying to have a longer developing concept that you need 8 yards for a first down.
Yeah, I think it was 14 rushing attempts by backs in the Falcons game.
Yep.
Clearly not enough. To 29, I believe, in Sunday's game. To the QB, by the way, Carson Wentz, 14 to 20, $173, a couple TDs, no 3 sacks, but no turnovers. That was the topic. That 5-0 turnover advantage certainly helped.
It's a good way to win games, generally.
Conversation as it was a week ago into his debut was, what if he plays well 3 games? What if he just even plays well in this game? What do we expect? Now we got a little bit of a sample size with Carson. But the coach was kind of talking about this yesterday. I forget who posed the question to him, but it was Seifert. Okay. So the idea of the plan. How does the plan change or not? I thought right out of the gates, he kind of just said, the plan hasn't changed.
Yeah.
But then in classic Kevin O'Connell ways, the more he talks, maybe the more morsels that you can dig into, kind of led it into an ambiguous state of affairs where, well, we're also not just going to, he feels great on a Saturday night before the game.
Yeah.
Boom, he's back.
Yeah.
There is a process to this in preparing him. And then at the end, or somewhere in the mix, he's like, well, that's also a question. Thankfully, I don't have to answer for you today.
Yeah.
Where's your head at on all that?
Well, I think the point he made about the need to get him prepared through a full week of practice is important because when you're talking about a high ankle sprain, the idea that he's going to, they're kind of handling this a week at a time. We know it's what they're going to do for Pittsburgh, and then we'll see how it goes for Cleveland. But
it could be something that hurts all year.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think the idea that he would be ready enough by next week for that Browns game where the ankle is completely good to go, especially when they want him to be able to move around like he's been able to do. The idea that he's going to be recovered enough from that and time to go through a full week of practice, a full week of meetings, preparation, all while traveling around the world, I think is a little much to ask. I would be, not that we know for sure, not that it can't change, I would be a little surprised if Carson Wentz is not starting both of these games on this trip, just given everything you'd have to have go in J.J. McCarthy's favor to pull this off. And I don't know that they're going to try to put that on him at this point either.
So now one of the newer components to whom Carson will be throwing is Jordan Addison.
Yes.
So whose reps get cut with Addison back?
I would imagine probably Adam Thielen a little. I mean, Adam Thielen has kind of been playing in certain packages already, and I think that's probably where we're going to see that continue. You saw him kind of in a little bit of that run blocking role, almost a throwback for him, because that's what he used to do back in the Mike Zimmer days. It was a lot of his early reps were, I think, in 22 personnel where he was the one receiver, and it was obvious they were running the ball. It won't be that, but I think
crack those defensive ends.
Correct. Yeah,
he's good at that.
The crack blocks is certainly something that they will use a lot of with him. I mean, they want receivers to do that. That's one of the things that if you get Wes Phillips talking about Cooper Kupp, there's kind of this dreamy look in his eye about how good Cooper Kupp was in those tight splits, cracking defensive ends. So Thielen will probably do some of that. You're still going to see him in some passing situations, but I would imagine it's probably him that gets a little bit less run, because I think Jalen Naylor's been pretty good, and I think he'll continue to be involved.
From the also a morsel, a nugget from the press conference yesterday. O'Connell said with Hitman back, Flores, paraphrasing, was able to open up things a bit. What do you think that means?
Well, we saw a lot of different looks on Sunday that I don't think we saw those first couple of games, because you have Harrison Smith being able to do so many different things where he's either up at the line of scrimmage and then bailing. I think that was what happened on the there was an early hit he had where he was blitzing, and then I think there were a couple of spots where he looked like he was blitzing, then he drops into coverage, which we've seen him do over the years. But I think the interception, he came down into a short zone and then dropped back, got his finger on it, tips it to Isaiah Rodgers. I mean, that play was a 14-year veteran making things happen, saying, okay, the ball's going here, I'm going to get depth, try to find a way to get involved in this, and then I tip it. I mean, there was some intuition, I think, from him on that just helped make that happen. But whether it's that or moving Metellus around more often, I think you're able to just do more things. You have more ways to play with your chess pieces with Harrison Smith out there. And then the communication aspect of it, where he's able to say, no, I see this, I'm going to make this check. You don't have somebody else that does that the same way, because nobody else has played as much football as he has. And I think he's got the green light on some of those things that helped them be even more multiple on Sunday than what we've seen the first couple of weeks.
I will see you Friday, either before, during, or after the Vikings practice in Dublin for those cool, quirky press conferences, all right?
Should be fun. Have a safe flight over there, and we will see you on the other side of the pond.
By the way, from the Star Tribune standpoint, or Access Vikings, or newsletter, you guys doing anything we need to know about before you take off?
Well, we'll do... we'll have kind of a special edition of it on Friday, kind of a postcard from Dublin, some sights and sounds, and then I'll be around at a couple of different meetups in Dublin over the weekend, and just looking forward to meeting fans. We did that in London last year too.
Good.
I'll probably pop into a couple of those things and say hello. So if you're around, come say hi. We'll maybe share a pint together at some point.
At Ben Goessling via X. That will keep you in tune with everywhere the scribe is. Kevin O'Connell joins 9 to noon, 15, 20 minutes from now, and we'll be right back. Truncated baby segment from the TCO studios as part of the second to none Vikings Entertainment Network, awaiting the arrival of Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Vikings, here about 10 minutes from now. Brett Blakemore guides the Great Ship Love Covenant. He's producing 9 to noon today from the flagship of the 9 to noon audio leader. On-site producer Eric Nordquist, and I'm Paul Allen, and here they are.
Yeah, indeed. We'll do a little NFL news de Nord, just kind of focusing in on last night's Monday Night Football game, which I was so confident in what I've seen from the Ravens offense. Still, meanwhile, trying to figure out exactly what the Detroit Lions have in them with everything that's new, something we chronicled during the first hour. Well, I have to change. We talked about it, PA. We got to change our faces on the kiddies. The 38-30 victory for the Baltimore Ravens. You mentioned Ravens Twitter. Ravens Twitter is right now like, I need Madubuike back. I need to figure out if this Nate Wiggins cat can cover anybody. Will Jair Alexander ever actually play another football game as he continues to rehab some knee bit? And and Kyle Van Noy, a guy who's super sneakily, you're thinking about some of the best sack masters and pass rushers in the NFL. We just saw one of them in Trey Hendrickson. Well, Kyle Van Noy means a ton to that defensive front for the Baltimore Ravens. They did not have him last night. Jared Goff, the tactician that he is, only 202 passing yards, the one touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown, but the poise and the late fourth down play to dagger the Ravens, you saw that. You saw the efficiency in the pass game. Oh, and by the way, if you were going to pick somebody to blow up in the run game, you're thinking Jahmyr Gibbs all day. How about David Montgomery busting out for $150 on the ground, including a late 30-yard touchdown scamper? He was fantastic last night. And Lamar Jackson, despite the consummate MVP numbers, Monday Night Lights, he ain't afraid of them, and he wins a lot in prime time. Lamar Jackson does. Nearly freaking perfect last night. He couldn't outscore the defensive issues that his team was experiencing, couldn't outscore and outplay King Henry's third fumble of the year, and the second, really, from the Bills game week 1 to now last night with the Lions. An absolute bone-crushing, game-changing fumble by Henry that led to the loss there. Kitties at 2-1. They 2-1. They really impressed me last night.
And the Ravens are 1-2. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens in a conference where you always have Buffalo out of one eye and Mahomes out of the other. You know, the 1-2 with Buffalo jumping out there 3-0, it will get late in a hurry in the American Football Conference if you continue to lose games. And I agree with you with Jackson. Now, I only got a chance to catch a fair amount of the second half. So all of the accounts that you're sharing, or just from your naked eye, absolutely corroborate with what I saw for what it's worth. However, final 3 drives of the game, they couldn't block Aiden Hutchinson. When they did block Aiden Hutchinson, Calvin Shepard, the coordinator for the Lions, would blitz, and they had Lamar way off kilter late in the game.
Well, they sacked him 7 times.
Right. But there were a couple of times where he'd have his eyes down the field, and either guys were covered or he was missing guys, and he couldn't decide whether he wanted to throw or run. And then he would get toppled. He would get taken down from behind. So he was a little indecisive late.
Well, and I wonder, too, again, mentioning nearly perfect. He's a 2-time MVP, the 40 passing touchdowns that he had last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, the stats are undeniable, undisputable. We know that.
Right.
There are moments with Lamar. Like, I wonder what the experience is if you're at M&T Bank or you're just loving the Baltimore Ravens. Because in the first half, which means you probably didn't see this, they had, I believe it was 1st and goal at like the 2. Henry gets stuffed. Then they tried to get jiggy with it, pushed outside. They missed again. And now it's 4th and goal from like the 3. And Lamar, in classic Lamar Jackson fashion, is going to bounce around anywhere and everywhere he possibly can to buy all the time in the world.
Yeah.
He ends up losing the ball, losing about 10 yards, recovers his own fumble on 4th down, turns it over on downs. Mm-hmm. So it's just like it's just a disaster clown show operation when you're at the freaking doorstep trying to score a touchdown and they give it away. But then the very next possession they have, Lamar has 2 of the most beautiful, perfectly laid out passes specifically to Mark Andrews, including a touchdown. And I think it may have been, it wouldn't have been DJ Reed. Was it Kirby Joseph? I saw Joseph on the tight ends a lot last night. Mm-hmm. But it was the perfect, just beyond his fingertips, diving situation for Andrews. And it is a 10 of 10 money Lamar, not perfect platform, probably running at the time, just slinging that in there. The Lamar experience is one of the most unique things where I don't, and this isn't going to be part of the X's and O's bit, but in the way that, like, Kevin O'Connell, when he had to learn how to coach in a short period of time, albeit, he had to learn how to coach like a Josh Dobbs or somebody that was so drastically different than what he was working with in a Kirk Cousins when he got hurt. Just if you're a coach that is so into your scheme, so into the plan, you believe in how you put this thing together, I'm just curious how a McVay or a Kevin O'Connell or some of these offensive tacticians how many times they're loving the pure athleticism, just football at its apex with a Lamar Jackson, but then pulling your hair out on the very next possession when you see some of the mistakes, some of the weirdness and oddities that take place on the field as well.
Well, I mean, I would guess O'Connell not as vitriolic or hyperbolic as you laid it out, like pulling the hair out. But with McCarthy, it's you're going to go through some of that with a new quarterback. LaFleur and his staff with Love when they started with Jordan. Caleb Williams with Ben Johnson. I've heard Kevin say it before. It's like when they get something and it's going to stay and be consistent. It's almost like a surrogate dad moment where you just feel really, really proud that you got something accomplished with the kid. But secondly, and in closing here, with the Motor City Kitties being the target at which to shoot in the division champions, and the way they're starting to play now. Well, let's be mindful that they're going to get Aleem McNeil back within the next 4 games.
Yeah.
So Aleem McNeil is one of the better interior defensive linemen in the NFL.
He good.
And they've been playing without him. So good might become gooder, bester in the very near future. When we return, we believe Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, will join us for an elongated chat known as X's and O's on FM 100.3 KFAN